Hello, Aren here. I will now read the post made by Quisto on December 9th, 2021 concerning his mission he had on Planet F Kashar. This morning at about 7 a.m. I got back home, a long cold night I had in the forests. It's always physically exhausting. Mentally, however, I'm stable, as I'm always accompanied by good people. For the past hours I have been working on boring stuff like updating lists, sheets, or analyzing data coming from our satellites, drones, and crafts. Then we had a redirection error that caused about 1,500 images of Saturn's moon, Rhea, to be completely messed up, so we had to ask the Saturn colonies to send them again, etc., etc. Now I just have had a little fun conversation with Archie, and luckily my shift has ended. I will use a little time now telling you about my journey to a planet you have been introduced to as F. Kashar. I will limit myself to the most important information as a lot has happened. First of all, when a few weeks ago you got the message that I was gone now, it really was a spontaneous order from Meshrut Belarus himself. The only message I received was this: meet my brother, the second of my house. On F. Kashar, Eruus you will meet. Izok Verkushel will escort you. All details from Verkushel, or something along those lines. We receive such messages on our mobile phones from House Hür, the house responsible for filtering and redirecting important messages to our people. Verkushel was already prepared and knocked on our door when I just have received the message. I was a little pissed as Verkushel got the order directly from Meshrut, while I got it as a pop-up message on my phone. Anyways, we went down the stairs that lead to the hangars that are directly connected to most of the houses and headquarters. With houses I refer to our headquarters, where Verkushel had parked the craft we later used for traveling. But before we could start, we had to get the specific coordinates. First off, F-Kashar, and then, more detailed, of the place or area. That was a little problem, as Verkushel had no connection to our system in the hangars, so we had to go all the way up to our main room again. Yes, even people as Verkushel are affected by such everyday problems. It took us another 15 minutes or so when we were finally able to continue our mission. Now comes something that most of you didn't expect at all. The ships used by our allies, most of them don't travel through the sky until they reach space, to then go the speed of light. That's Hollywood thinking. Reality is a little more simple, even though the process itself is not. Our crafts travel inside the planet Earth, through tubes thousands of kilometers long, until they reach a certain speed and rotation, to then, with the help of their cores, catapult themselves into another layer of existence. That layer is still here, just not bound to physical location. A simple portal, so to say. Don't get me wrong, there are quite a few alien races here that do travel through the skies, though. Most of them, however, do it for show. I could tell you more about the crafts we used, how it is operated, how it looks, how it smells, feels, and sounds. But for this story, it is not necessary at all. After Verkushel and I got the right coordinates, we started the scouting ship and shifted dimensions, while we covered a distance from Munich to Moscow, all underground in a few minutes. Our little advantages. Though it needs an incredible amount of energy to achieve such dimensional shifts, it covers a long, long distance in a short period of time. But such jumps cause a lot of risks if not executed properly. To avoid those risks, we approached the planet Efkashar from a safe distance of about 650,000 kilometers, approximately double the distance the Moon has from Earth, and the rest we traveled manually. This is when the little disadvantage of the scouting ship of Verkushel unveiled. It is slow when in space. It has no magic propulsion engine that makes us faster than light. The ship's only drive was magnetic propulsion with the help of a bipolar metal core that got us covered. On Earth, the reason we went fast in the tubes was because of external help from the walls of the tube. In space, it looked different. So we arrived in the middle of the space with the small planet Efkashar in the background. That's when the first issues started. Yes, we were traveling briskly. However, we had potential obstacles around us because space isn't so empty after all. Remember when I told you about the Shrivern nets? A constellation of hundreds, sometimes thousands of large and small biospheres connected with long golden tubes and corridors used for transport or transit, all of them powered by their inner systems, not living off the energy of a star. The Shrivern nets aren't the only nets around, or the only things floating around space. Among the usual rocks and ice crystals or metal debris or other debris, there were Lekush laukire, or easier, plasma space jellyfish. Sounds like a sweet little alien floating around space like a jellyfish does in the sea. But a big no. Those things are highly radioactive and like to burn the surface of literally anything, even dense metal, when it touches. And after touched, they implode, not explode. Hundreds of them spinning around for eternity. So, as you can see, that's one of the reasons Verkushel was selected for this mission, as he is a wonderfully precise pilot. I was still extremely nervous. On top of that, the disc and round shape of our craft made it easier for us to dodge our little friends. Our flight through the herd of Lekush laukire lasted about 2 intense hours. But luckily space is still pretty big and not completely filled with laukire. After that small little incident, the rest of the journey went off pretty smoothly. The flight took about 21 hours in total. I was sleeping most of the time or studying plans and documents of the structure system of Efkashar, while Verkushel was strictly focusing on the road ahead of him. The window of the craft was wide enough to almost have a 360 view of the environment around, with a few holographic extras. The entry into Efkashar's atmosphere went clean. I hope that one day in your life you will be able to witness the sound it makes when atmospheric particles hit the outside shell of a spacecraft, almost like whales singing. In case you are asking yourself why we entered the planet through the atmosphere and not the way we started our journey, here is why. Leaving a planet is easier through the process we already explained, through portals, if carefully planned and executed. But entering a planet through portals is another thing. There are extremely atmospheric and magnetic turbulences that could make a precise landing through a portal a huge nightmare. Therefore, most races prefer the tried and tested method. It is indeed being performed by a few races, but their technological and physical knowledge in this case is far more advanced than ours. The first place we had to visit was the house of Melakesh, an old Voss messenger that we first mentioned 10 months ago in the video Voss Arrival. He lives in a tomb-like structure he lovingly calls Mushguri, what translates to dirt hole, not because the place itself was dirty, not at all, rather because the things that happened there in the past were dirty, pretty dirty. Anyways, Verkushel landed our ship close to Melakesh's Mushguri, and we stayed there for a bit, 4 hours approximately. The meeting we had there was necessary as he, on the one hand, told us where to find the brother of Meshrut Belarus. On the other hand, he told us a little secret about him that should help us in our upcoming negotiations with him. Other than that, we were discussing the future of planet Keshur-Gaora and the Voss agenda present on Earth and 2 other planets in your solar system. Nothing with immediate effects, rather rough frameworks we needed to carry over to Maestro Daora. Melakesh gave us a small present towards the end, and our journey continued to the Tower of Efkul, present on the almost other side of Efkeshar. My stay at the tower was adorned by many events. You can imagine the tower as a huge, rectangular, solid object of a metal that the locals call the heart of engineering, because of the many ways the metal could be used. It is similar to platin. In the tower lived old Voss elders that either retired or left Matugaora because of their political disagreements. You surely understand. A few of them were really happy to see me in person, as they only have seen me on computer screens and heard of me in stories. What an honor, LOL. The only reason I paid them a visit was because of an old relic I had to get from one of the elders, an old friend of Maestro Daora. A personal request by Maestro Daora he made before we took off, after he heard that we will visit Efkeshar soon. Verkushel waited in the craft because I wasn't gone for long when the tower suddenly got attacked. Rather tracked and warned by a drone of the Asmaruta Alliance, the baddies, so to say. The tower got bombarded by missiles that caused not more than temporary short circuits of machinery that was close. A video of that was uploaded to the channel. So they sort of warned the tower, not me. So it was nothing of my business. I ran to our craft and after a few more minutes we took off again. The whole stay lasted for not more than an hour. That was on 23rd of December, while Aren was relaxing at Housebacks on Earth. Ha. A personal side note from me, Aren. I was not relaxing at the time. Post continues now. While traveling through the strange, sandy skies, we planned our next steps. The headquarter of Menos Belarus, brother of Meshrut Belarus. They were located hidden under rocky mountains with cliffs, slopes, and caves. Underground structures are extremely common on planets that look uninhabited from above. And there's a reason behind that. From the tower of Evkul to the base of Menus, it took us about half an hour or so, at the speed of circa 800 kilometers per hour, slow travel speed to not overheat the core. Like I have told you a few days ago, we landed next to Menus craft. Our craft looked like a leaf in front of a tree compared to the ship Meneshkar. We have already been awaited by the people of Menus, who greeted us with a sense of mistrust in their faces. Well, at least their hair looked exactly on point, lol, like they want to win a fashion show. They guided us through cliffs and slopes until we reached a literal stone wall. Or stone wall. You could walk right through it. A hologram, you would say. It felt exactly like if you jump from warm air into cold water, the transition flowing over your body, just without the wet pants. Then Minos people escorted us through halls of the same material the Tower of Evkul is made of. It looked shimmering but yet somehow matte, and the ground felt soft and sank in a little when stepping on it. We walked through a large corridor for a few minutes, even though it felt like hours. Then we reached the main meeting hall, where I expected Minas, but found someone else too. Turned out, and I'm still a little salty about it, Meshrut Belarus, his brother, was there too. And the reason why I should meet his brother was to witness him learning a lesson. I mean, Meshrut was the one telling me, no, ordering me I should visit Efkeshar with Verkushel to meet his brother. I expected an urgent reason, and the only thing I saw was Meshrut yelling at his brother because of a financial mistake he made 2 years ago, and apparently his mistake costed the lives of a few people. And Meshrut apparently only now was able to travel to Efkeshar 2 years too late, to rebuke him in front of our eyes. It was nothing physical. We just sat there for a few hours, listening to the blabbering of a furious tall blonde, not even once directly looking at us. But we had to listen. Order is order. A lesson not only for Menes, but also for us. Rather, a warning. Meshrut talked about the responsibility Menes wasn't living up to, how a simple mistake in the spheres the Belarus family is working could cost, and did, hundreds or even thousands of lives. He then proceeded to talk of all the complex issues he had to fix, people he had to talk and appease to, what he had to spend out of his own belongings, etc., 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 etc. After he was finished, he looked at Verkushel and only at Verkushel and told him, as he was closest to him in the ranks of the Pleiadian and Voss infrastructure, that what we had witnessed now should be a teaching for our current and future groups. To put it more nicely, then he left, with his two dumb gods that would even lick his toes if he wants to, and I'm sure he likes that, lol. I don't know if you can imagine how much energy and preparation and coordination it costed us in order to safely travel to planet Efkeshar, even though it is just behind the next corner. Even though it looked pretty simple through this post, there was way more people, thought, and energy involved in the, even though spontaneous, mission of Verkushel and me. About 90% of the whole story I didn't write down, as on the one hand I'm not allowed to share this part of the medal, on the other hand it wouldn't be too interesting for you, as it contains even more names, places, and structures. And I'm already limiting myself to write about the most important ones. But there are more names, way, way more. Okay, so after the incident with Meshrut and Menus, we, well noted furiously, went back to our craft where we prepared to head home. Preparation took us 5 more hours. Flying out of orbit to reach outer space took us 1 more hour, and the way home we had to take manually for about 7 days, from November 25th to December 2nd. What happened during those 7 days is another page of the book. What I wrote now is all that matters, for now. A small glimpse of my life. Even though that voyage was a once-in-a-lifetime event that happens almost every 2 years, lol. Such events never pass without a trace. After such voyages we often need lots of sleep, sometimes even 2 or 3 days at once. And after that, Department 7753 is calling, loud. You know, working in the Vosmecule structure isn't at all easy, but I love doing it. Christo, Project Coelacanth 7753.